name is Peter. Thanks for joining us once again for our opinions on the latest movies or recent movies coming out and already out. So this week we're talking about The Woman King, a long anticipated piece of African history. This is a film starring Viola Davis as well as John Boyega and a host of other great actors and actresses. This one is based on real events, actually. It's based on the Agojie tribe, which is a historic troop of all female fierce warriors. And this is unheard of, you know. This is a big piece of African history that has been overlooked and has not been really talked about until now. So they defended a land called the Dahomey. This is now modern day Benin, but this was during the 1800s, and a big part of it revolves around the slave trade and a part they had to play within that trade. So it is quite complex, and there is a bit of controversy behind this movie, which makes it such an interesting talking point. So, as you'll find out, we have a lot of opinions and a lot of different ideas and different things we noticed about the movie that we do bring up in discussion. So you're in for a treat, and I know you'll enjoy it as much as we enjoyed recording it. So without further ado, I bring to you the discussion.
Okay, so today we're getting into it with The Woman King. Law, seeing as how you were like so eloquently narrated the... No, I'm not even trying to throw any shade. It's not even like throwing you under the bus. But I really admired the way you kind of sort of unraveled the story of Wakanda Forever, because I could have done that the way you did it. So if it's not too much to ask, to kind of just go through the broad strokes.
Yeah. We can all pitch in like at certain points as well.
Yeah, so. just ease us into the discussion as you want, you know.
Okay, so I think the general gist of this story, we start off understanding that there are two major factions within Western Africa that are currently at war with each other. We got the Oyo tribe and the Dahomey tribe, I believe, or the Oyo Empire and the Dahomey tribe. Now, the Oyo Empire is far bigger than the Dahomey tribe, and because of this, the Dahomey tribe have to pay tribute in order to keep safe passage and to keep to prevent any outbreaks of war. Mm-hmm. But despite this tense peace, there have been tribes within the Oyo Empire that have been kidnapping and attacking Dahomey villages and raiding their villages and capturing their villagers and selling them to European slavers, which has obviously caused tension between the two tribes. So we're introduced to the movie with the elite fighting force of the Dahomey tribe, the Agojie, led by General Nesca, played by Viola Davis. And she leads the Agojie in freeing one of those Dahomey villages that were freeing some captives that were taken by one of the tribes within the Oyo Empire. And we see how good they are. They all run up on this village, take out all the men, do some very acrobatic attacks and quite some good action set pieces there to take these men that are like twice their size, a lot of them, and save those tribal leaders. So that's the start of the movie. I'm not sure how much more you want me to go into before anyone wants to chip in.
I think that's more or less the gist of it, isn't it? I think the main thing is that obviously I think so among the people that she saves I think, is that where she saves one of the girls called Nawi? Nawi, who is gets taken in. No, wait, does Nawi get taken in? Or was
she's recruited.
No, Nawi wasn't saved. That was one of Nawi's friends with that later friend was saved.
Right.
Nawi was an orphan that was within the Dahomey tribe anyway. And she joined the Agojie because her father, her adopted father is trying to marry her off to a husband, but she won't accept it because all of the husbands are quite abusive to the women that they take. So the father gives her away to the king, and therefore she chooses to become an Agojie instead.
Yeah. And then the whole thing about the Agojie. Yeah, and the whole thing about the Agojie is that so they're like elite warriors who serve the king directly. They don't take husbands, they don't bear children, and they basically defend the homie Agojie king directly. And yeah, I think that's the gist of the film, more or less. It's about the kind of warring and political factions and stakes between the Oyo Empire and the homie.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I watched this movie today, and for the life of me, I could not remember the names of either of them tribes. I'm impressed with both of you.
I remember the homie because it just makes me think of the homies in it, like, you know, the homies in it. And I remember the Oyo Empire because it reminds me of Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, a large chunk of the first half of the movie centers around Nawi and her journey from being this this daughter that was given away to becoming an Agojie, where she goes through her training montage, and she is then built up to be quite an impressive warrior in her own right, but she's also quite defiant as well, and she has various clashes with General Nanesca in terms of her not following orders and not being part of the caring more about herself than the Agojie, who are her sisters. What do people think of that opening first act? Anyway, what did people think of that? We'll see it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great start to the movie. You know, it's very kinetic, very like well choreographed, and it obviously showed you the force, like the might of this elite, trained squad of the King's Guards. I guess that's what you'd really call them. That's ultimately their job, to protect the homie tribe, and to obviously go out there and serve the royal sort of elites, the guards. That's essentially what they are. The thing I liked about that is they really showed how important these warriors are, because even the civilians of the village, they're not permitted to look them in the eye. Like when they come back into the village, they all have to like look down. There's a like little cute moment when I think her name was like I can't remember her name. The one played by Natasha.
Agojie. Yeah.
You could tell she's one of the more sort of down to earth ones, because like she kind of gives one of the little boys like a cheeky wink when he looks at her.
When he's trying to peek,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I really liked the way it opened, and the way they kind of showed how things work, how this world is set up. I felt like the world building was really well done.
Yeah, I guess just to piggyback off that, just to say obviously the Agojie, is it Agojie? I'm gonna forget what it's called now. They're permitted to live like within like the not in the palace building, but within like the kind of palace confines, where they're obviously the palace grounds, where they're treated a lot better, they're well fed, they're looked after, and that's kind of the catch-22, the fact that they're risking their lives for the village and for the king as well. So in turn for that, they are treated really well, and they're great, they're respected as well. I think one of the things that the general says is that your opinions will be heard, which I guess is a big thing for them all being women, because outside of that palace, outside of that kind of profession, they are just kind of married off and subservient to men. So that was pretty important to see.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I like seeing these kind of movies where you show like really powerful, like empowered women, who obviously I know like there's like arguments out there about the implausibility of like a woman being able to take down a dude like twice her size and weight, but I don't know, just to
It,
kind of,
it,
just
it
to kind of
hasn't
see
happened.
But I don't know, just kind of seeing it on screen, like, you know, kind of witnessing it. Yeah, there is kind of a part of me that just kind of gets excited by that. I just, you know, seeing like it's almost like an underdog type thing.
Yeah,
For me.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how did you guys feel about like the performances and the sort of acting?
I thought the acting was great. Mm. Yeah.
Choreography in the fight scenes and training montage and that, it looked great.
Yeah, I think there were some very powerful scenes which really kind of stuck out to me. Maybe we're just like, raw, this is like hardcore training. I think obviously there's a scene where you see like Agojie as well. She's doing that kind of challenge against the male. Are the males called Agojies too? Are they all Agojies, or just the women called Agojies?
I think it's just the
women. Yeah, I'm not sure what the male warriors are called. But yeah, they're like doing this thing where there's these like a spear or daggers on both sides of a stick, and they're kind of seeing who can take the most pain without taking a step back. They're both kind of got these daggers in between, and they have to walk towards each other, and it's digging into the person in their skin, and they're seeing who can bear the most pain. And obviously, Agojie wins the competition. So yeah, it was just fun watching.
I don't remember that scene at all.
You don't remember it? You must have napped out in that scene,
they're basically like so they're facing each other. So you got the woman and the guy, and they've got like basically a spear, double-ended spear, or sharpened stick.
Yeah.
And they're both basically walking towards each other. So the stick is bending. You don't remember that at all?
Yeah, it's digging into both their chest, above their chest.
Beginning of the movie.
It's like about a third of the way through.
Yeah.
This happened, I think. Yeah.
Maybe you checked out that. Yeah.
I thought it happened.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it wasn't that important.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was, yeah.
You watched it literally like a few hours ago. Remember this?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
one of the scenes I remember from the beginning was it Naui, where Nancy? No,
Nancy?
How it was? Nancy, I think I don't know if it was her. She was no, it was her. They were giving her more weapons to train with, and she's like, I want a proper weapon, and so she's given her the sword, which she can't lift. She says, hit and she tried to and it failed miserably.
Yeah, she went to take the head off.
Oh, yeah.
She couldn't do it.
I remember that bit,
yeah.
That was a good scene.
So in terms of the plot going on from that, King Gezo is in the process of trying to reform what the Dahomey have been, because the Dahomey, prior to his reign, were involved in the slave trade as well, and there seems to be a bit of a political struggle within the kingdom as to which direction the Dahomey tribe go to, with whether they continue selling slaves as well, or they choose a different path where they say, just because they're not part of their tribe, they're still African, we shouldn't be selling, we shouldn't be involved in the slave trade at all. And there's a dichotomy between the profitable nature of engaging with the European slave trade and then the moral principle around it. And is there an actual practical alternative that can see us remain as prosperous without actually selling that, without actually selling slaves? And Nanesca has devised a way to do that by selling palm oil instead of selling slaves. So there was a bit of a clash with regards to that as well. And Gezo eventually does meet with one of the Portuguese slave traders, the main white antagonist, I guess, to convey that may be happening, which also would then lead to further ramifications with the Dahomey and whether they will be able to survive the Oyo Empire. And because also they were meant to pay a massive tribute to the Oyo Empire, but they actually chose not to, this is what starts the war between them, and they're choosing to fight against them rather than engage and be subservient to them anymore. which is what caused the main war between the two.
Yeah.
Anyone care for the internal politics within the story?
Well, on the subject of the politics, like I mean, this isn't directly related to the story within itself, but I was just kind of like unsure of why there is like such a bit of a backlash against this movie. You know, because they do address obviously the whole, you know, the issue of like them trading slaves. And they're even, you know, as you just said, King Gezo, he's trying to find a different commodity to obviously to kind of end the whole slavery thing and like try to be prosperous without having to resort to that. So why did this movie kind of get such a bad reputation? I mean, not with everybody.
Because no one saw it yet.
Oh,
so
it
was
Oh, so
the
it was just
backlash
assumed. Oh, right, okay.
Because the backlash mainly came before the movie had actually come out.
Oh,
so
right, okay.
It was just based on the fact that they were doing a movie which seemed to glorify the Dahomey, which were historically engaged in the slave trade. And without the actual context of, well, they do acknowledge that they were in there and that they were trying to move away from it.
Yeah, this is the thing.
It just seemed like it was one of the more valid avenues of attacking this movie, because obviously there's loads of people that would attack this movie anyway because strong female leads, all of that, and the whole slave trade angle was a good way to attack this movie as well.
Right.
But yeah, most of the people that attacked it hadn't actually seen the movie to even like address the concept.
That's funny.
So so they did actually address the fact that they didn't try and whitewash the Dahomey and say that they were the good guys in all this. So they engaged in it too, but they were just saying that the king were trying to change it. And obviously they don't portray this as a true story because it's not true.
It's just loosely based on true events.
Historical accurate events, and they're just using their creative license to create a story from it, which I don't necessarily mind, but other people probably feel stronger about whether you should be able to do that with very strong historical events that are so horrific. But I mean, it's happened in the past. I mean, Quentin Tarantino in Glorious Bastards, he made a complete movie around the occupation of the Germans in France, and he obviously uses creative license around changing that narrative. It wasn't true at all, but it used true elements of truth from history to create a story. So if you're not going to be outraged at Inglourious Bastards, I don't think you should be outraged at this. Either both are wrong or both are right.
But I feel like
the outrage is due to actual times of when the movie comes out, what's going on. Because nowadays a lot of people are just outraged at everything. Back when Tarantino released that movie, there was less outrage about just walking down the street and being wherever. So it's more to do when the movie's actually released, that how much outrage a movie will get. There were movies 10, 15 years ago that they can't make now because of, well, there'll be outrage.
Yeah. I do think that in terms of like the likability of the movie, the characters they chose for the film, obviously like Lawrence said, the Dahomey were involved in slave trade historically, but I do like how you see this kind of journey of progressiveness in the characters, and not just through the king as well. Obviously the king is trying to be progressive towards stopping the slave trade, and also progressive towards women, but you also see kind of the journey. I think it's one of the male Portuguese slave traders who's half Portuguese, half white, I think he is, Malik, and you kind of see his kind of journey. He starts off with his colleague approaching the oil empire to kind of, make dealings with more slaves, and towards the end of the movie he actually starts to see that actually I am also of these people. He kind of goes through this kind of arc of finding his identity in the Dahomey as well, because I think he said his mother was Dahomey when she was alive. And yeah, just kind of seeing his journey kind of go full circle towards the end, where he actually stands by the Dahomey as well, kind of just shows that progressiveness journey amongst the rest of the cast, which I thought was pretty cool.
should we talk about the I don't know if you call it a twist, but obviously throughout later on in the movie, we found out that Nawi was an orphan. She wasn't actually the person that was raising her wasn't her father. She was an orphan, and then Naneska realizes she sees a birthmark on her shoulder, and that gives her the idea that this might be her daughter, because when she gave birth to the child that she to her child after she'd been raped, she had cut the baby's arm and put a shark tooth in it, which then healed over, which was a way for her to identify that it was her daughter. What did people think of that story point? Because I thought it was completely contrived. Like, I thought it was so nonsensical. It made absolutely no sense, apart from the movie wanted a surefire way to confirm that this was mother and daughter. And the only way to do that, because obviously there's no DNA test, would be this whole tooth in the arm thing. But I just can't see at that point why she would have done that. Because it didn't really make sense why she would do that if she's giving away the child. Like, what purpose would that possibly serve? Or why would you need to identify the child again if you're giving it away?
Yeah, I suppose maybe she thought to herself that she may want to find the child at some point in the future, because I do remember she does say to it's not Agojie, one of the other female soldiers, she does say to her, tell me like what happened to the child, and she says, you know, you told me you were gonna ask this at some point, and you told me when I asked you not to tell you. So maybe she was kind of pattering.
I don't agree with that. She only asked that question because she spoke to Nawi and found out she was an orphan. That's the only reason that conversation came about.
Yeah, I know that's the only reason it came about. But I'm saying she pre-warned the other soldier that I probably will come to you and ask you this, and when I ask you, don't tell me. She actually, that was the instruction that she gave that soldier. So she probably was conflicted throughout the whole process of giving up her daughter, and I imagine it stuck with her for numerous years. But I do get your point, Law. Like, it is a bit of a contrived way to go about it.
Just think it was unnecessary. I think you could have conveyed that Naneska cared for Nawi, just like she cared for all of her Agojie, because she felt looked after them as they were her daughters anyway. And you could, I don't think you needed that relationship to justify her going to save her. Like, I think you could have had that story, because I just felt a bit, it kind of a very hand-fisted way of making sure that we knew that they were mother and daughter, which I didn't think was necessary.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it shows, really. It shows, because obviously, you know, with these stories, they always want to like sort of dramatize it a little bit more, have a bit of like creative freedom to just make it a bit more whimsical, add that sort of added emotion to it, you know, that emotional subtext. So I think obviously that's what they were going for, really.
I do think it would have been taken maybe to a bit more depth if they actually went into the issue of Nawi obviously being the daughter of one of the Oil Empire's generals, who actually was the one who actually raped Naneska, and maybe her whole conflict of obviously being like the daughter of the person who raped her mother, and the fact that he was obviously trying to continue the slave trade, kill her mother, kill her friends. That side of her conflict would have made or added a bit more depth to bringing that element into the film, but they didn't really touch on that aside from one scene at the end.
Really, because they had no idea who the father was, because she was raped by multiple people. It wasn't just him.
Did Naneska not even know? Did Naneska not, or was it just inferred?
No, the father was. Because she was raped by multiple people. So so it was. She just remembered him because
him specifically. I
thought that was the guy. I thought that was the dude, because they had the beef throughout the movie. I assumed that was the one guy.
I guess it's inferred, but you can't be sure, because because
the general guy was the guy that raped her, but like multiple people had raped her, so you couldn't say that was the father. And there was no way of. That's why they didn't really dwell on. it could have been soldier number 4 that that sort of thing, because it was just showing the brutality of what women faced during those times if they were captured in those situations, which they didn't really shy away from, which they were still showing that was a brutal time for women, and that, like you're saying, that the homie were trying to be progressive. Whether that was historically accurate, I don't know. I don't know enough about the homie, but I think that's what they were trying to portray. So yeah, that was the subtext with the daughter and that. So any other thoughts? I thought that the all of the choreography, not just around the fighting, but also the dancing as well. And I thought some of the like you were saying yesterday, Ruben, in that it was it did provide a lot of additional insight into African culture, and I think some of these movies do kind of normalize a bit more of the African culture. I think Black Panther done it as well, in terms of just normalizing these colors, these designs, these outfits, just making them not seem as, what's the word, probably alien or exotic, just making it feel like these different cultures feel a lot more normal, because we usually only see very Western style movies, Western clothes, Western stereotypes and characteristics. So it was good to see another side, and I think this is portraying that very well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me in the movie, which I think was its strong point for me, was the character relationship. So I particularly did like the relationship between Agojie and Nawi. Agojie, who was kind of like this kind of big sister figure to Naru throughout the film. I really did like her character, and like you said, Peter, she was like one of the more down-to-earth characters among the guards. She was hardcore, but she was also, she was a bit funny at times, she was serious at times. And towards the end of the movie, when she dies, that's probably the most. I'm not sure if it's the only main character that you see on screen, but it's definitely the most powerful one that you see on screen. When she turns around and goes back for now, and then she gets shot. So I really did like how they kind of brought that relationship to fruition from the beginning to the point where when she does die, you do actually care and feel for this character. So that was a strong selling point for me. I definitely felt it when she got licked.
And on that point, that scene that you were talking about, like that little girl, she just gave an amazing performance. You really felt the pain, obviously, when that her character's killed off, like the bigger sister. Was it Agojie?
Agojie,
yeah. It was such a great scene, and like just really kind of made me choke up almost, like just seeing that unfold. But I think just in general, like the performances in this movie were really good. Like I don't want to go through each and every one, but I'm sure you guys can agree.
Yeah. And I'm not sure on that one as well, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if on that one as well, when Nari was doing her kind of initiation exam, and I think something happens to one of her friends who's in like kind of test as well, she falls over and she goes back to help her. And I can't remember if it was Agojie or Naniska or both of them there who say like, why did you go back for her? And so one of them says like, I think she asked one of them, you wouldn't go back. She said you wouldn't. She says to her, you wouldn't go back. But she says, Nari says I think Nari says to Agojie, you wouldn't go back for your friend or something. It's either Agojie or Naniska. Agojie or Naniska who says about the other one, I wouldn't. I would. No, she said she would step over me or something. When in actuality, in that scene, Agojie does go back for Nari when she's about to escape, which I thought was quite sweet as well. That Nari got to see that side of her. It wasn't just it kind of was just talk, and she would go back to save her loved ones and friends. That I think that made it even more powerful. That scene when she turns around.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also, just a special mention. I thought John Boyega done a great job as well. Like he wasn't in the movie. It wasn't really about him, but I thought his performance as the king. Again, I just thought I think he held quite a lot of the scenes. Considering he was a lot of the scenes he was with, he was across from Viola Davis, who's a main actor. And I thought the fact that he was able to hold the show with her in multiple scenes, I thought it just shows like the levels that he has in terms of his acting. And considering like because my introduction to John Boyega, I don't know about you, was Attack the Block.
Attack the Block. Yeah. It's a bit
My
bad.
man was doing, like, you know, like breaking and like this. I'm like, damn, okay.
No, I just want to say, like, look, on your point, Law, because I remember when he got cast as Finn in Star Wars, and I was thinking, why did they cast the guy from Attack the Block? Like, he's not that special. But like now he's coming like with Breaking and with his performance in this, he's really coming into his own. Like, I'm really seeing him like blossom. He's like, as you were saying, him acting alongside Viola Davis and kind of really establishing that dominance, even with her as a co-performer. Just goes to show how much he's grown as an actor and a performer. And every scene he was in, he really had that presence of a king, as he should. And one last thing I wanted to say is like the amount of training that they put into the physical element of this movie, like with all the fights and whatnot. You would think they would put a bit more effort into the accents, because I thought like most of the accents the African accents were a bit but John Boyega's accent was on point. Like I was like, yeah, like when he's like, he has like gravitas, he's making those speeches, his voice is booming and the accent is thick, like you can tell he knows how to hold it down.
Like, because like you could tell, like because obviously he is African, like his parents are like Nigerian, I believe. Like he's grown up with like hearing that accent, and like you were saying, some of them didn't have that. Like
they were struggling.
It's not even just the accent; it's the mannerisms as well. Like some of the stuff, like when like he was like telling his guests to sit down, he's like, hey, get them a chair. Like even the mannerisms were like, like you can tell, but
yeah. Oh Lord.
What did you guys think of, like, just quickly, because this is a PG-13, I believe, PG-13 rating, so I assume it's like it's more of a family movie, isn't it? It's like it's not really like supposed to be like too violent, but the makeup was so good. Like a lot of the injuries do look quite gory, not gory, but quite graphic. But you can obviously see that it's just basically makeup. But I just wanted to like kind of give credit to the makeup artists, because they really did do a great job with like these convincing sort of gashes and like flesh wounds. That's not something I usually pick up on a movie, but I kind of like, I was like, right, are you sure this is meant to be a PG-13? But then it is, so I guess
yeah. I mean, yeah, considering obviously they include themes of like rape and slavery and stuff. Well, fair enough. Children.
I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go over the top with kind of the gore and the blood and stuff. But they done just enough, obviously, in the fight scenes, the choreography, when people were getting slashed and stuff and sliced, that it did make it look real, and they didn't linger on it for too long to make it over dramatized. Which was quite cool. That just kind of just goes to show you that life is really fleeting. People don't hang about after you've been sliced. It's on to the next one when it's war. Do you know what I mean? There's no dramatizing it.
And also, but there was blood when they were like, because obviously you could have some movies where like obviously someone just got stabbed and there's just no blood, and like you just like, okay, this looks a bit silly. But in this case, they got shot. You'd see a bit of blood, but obviously they wouldn't linger on it and they wouldn't dwell on it too much. Yeah.
Sure.
One of the, I think, probably biggest flaws in the movie is probably just the length. And I know we spoke about the length of Black Panther as well. I think it just overstays its welcome. I don't think this needed to be over 2 hours long. I think that is probably where it's probably just overstayed its welcome a bit, and it started to drag a lot. And I was checking the time and thinking, how long has this movie got left?
So was I, bro.
So this section was dragging quite a bit. I don't think we needed that daughter section. You know, I think, yeah, it was just bits and bobs here where they could have cut it. I think they could have made this like a more streamlined 90 minutes, maybe a 100-minute movie. When you're getting into the 120, 125-minute territory, it's just like, yeah, it's going on. And you got Cam out here snapping throughout the movie.
Peter said he fell asleep twice, bro.
I fell asleep twice. I watched it twice.
I fell asleep twice, bro. Exposed.
Oh, and let's not forget the post-credit scene. That was not. It was not enough to just have a over 2 hour movie.
Wait, there was a post-credit scene.
There was a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
When I saw those credits, bro, I was like, I'm done, bro.
I was like, I am out. Peace.
Bro, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure the second name came on the screen before I turned it off, bro. Like,
It's not even like a post-credit scene. It's like it's not even a mid-credit scene. It was like it had like 10 lines of credits, and then there was a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to wait at all. You don't just turn the thing off.
I think they realized that, bro, people aren't gonna linger here for too long, bro. So let's go. Let's put this in.
Yeah, they just put the main cast off, and then there's another scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a post-credit scene. Wow.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it wasn't anything.
Yeah. Another thing that I am glad about, though, I'm glad that they didn't turn it into a love story between Malik and Nawi. Like, obviously there was a bit of like kind of something there, but they didn't. I'm glad they didn't make that like a main theme of the film and turn it into a love story. Because I think that would have detracted from it if they did.
Listen, like, because I wasn't sure what they were trying to portray with that. Like, because obviously they did seem like it was turned into a love story. Because like, did they actually like? Because it was weird. Because they obviously were washing each other. They were washing her hands, and then it kind of cuts away, and then she ain't dressed, and then like.
I saw. I was like, did they do the thing?
I think they tried to imply it because again, it's a family. It's meant to be a family movie.
Yeah.
So I don't think they wanted to.
I don't think they did because I think. I mean, I wouldn't have thought so because the whole thing was obviously. Even though Mari was like quite a rebel, she was very much an Agojie. So I think they did try to keep that kind of consistency with all the Agojie throughout the film.
What I know is like, when they cut back to her, she weren't dressed. He came in topless. I was like, well.
Yeah. Is that after he bought her? Like after like he.
Yeah, after he bought her,
okay.
he washed her hands.
Yeah.
And then you've seen Aneska break in and start.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to her, and she's like in the blankets or whatever. She wasn't like. Yeah, they hit it, bro. They did the thing. They did the.
No, bro. I don't. Her sister figure died like the day before, bro. They didn't do nothing, bro.
They did it, bro. Woman King 2, bro. She's gonna be pregnant, and then we're like, what happened?
Woman King 2.
Oh man.
Let's not make
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. There's a Woman King 2. I'm not watching that. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brother, bro. He is brave, bro. Because like I was like, yo, you better stay in Africa now, brother. Like you better go to the homie and thing. Like you know what you did, bro. You went with a white man, and he's obviously your brethren or whatever, and he died, and you're coming back without him. Honestly, you could have a videotape like exonerating you, and they ain't gonna believe that, bro. Man's getting lynched as soon as he gets back, bro. I don't know why he was getting in that boat. And I was like, hey, you bro. You're gonna get blamed. Well, it was your fault as well. That is the deepest thing. Like,
yeah. Oh Lord.
Yeah, bro. My man's brave, innit? I was like, yo, the homie, take me with you, bro. I'm clearly on your side now. You know what I mean, bro? Because they're gonna come back. They're gonna let that ride. Like, you know what I mean, bro?
Oh man. I am glad that he had that redemption arc at the end where he kind of betrayed his friend, freed the slaves, and then obviously they drowned his friend in the sea. That was a good redemption little thing for him as a character.
Yeah, but yeah, there was just like they just swiftly moved past her like, so what's he gonna do now, bro? Like, I'm gonna go back to the chick by himself, just this one black man, like, yeah. What's up, guys? Yo, where's my man? It's like, stay behind him.
didn't make it, bro. Yeah.
He didn't make
He's
it. Like,
behind, isn't it?
yeah.
Oh Lord.
I feel like his nation was very dependent on like him knowing like certain white men, like, and he was one of them, though. So, well, it's a madness. So cool.
Yeah. Cool. Alright, anything else you wanted to touch on in the film at all?
No, I think that's everything
Yeah, pretty much.
on my end. Should we get into final thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might as well.
Do this. Okay. Okay, I'll start. I think overall, this was a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it's overly memorable, but I think it did have great moments in it. I thought the performances from certain actors, Viola Davis and John Boyega in particular, I thought done great. Nawi's actress as well, I can't pronounce her name, Duso, I think it is,
yeah.
Duso Mbedu. Yeah, I'm sorry for butchering that.
Yeah.
I thought she done really well as well. I've not seen her in anything before, but I thought her performance was really good. And Lashana Lynch as well, as the big sister, I did like her character as well. I thought I love the colours, all of the bright, vibrant colours. It was never really dull. Did really show the vibrance of an African setting and the vibrance of African culture. I thought that was beautiful as well. Some of the dancing and celebrations and the cultures and that, I thought done a great job of portraying that. I thought the choreography and the fight scenes and the dance scenes were also very good as well. But I do think the story just dragged on too long, and some of the story points were a bit contrived here and there, which I think stops this. I think if they could have slimmed it down, it would have got into that very good territory for me. But because of how bloated it was in parts and with some unnecessary scenes, I think overall, I think this, I will give this it was a good movie. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which is well presented, well prepared and presented. So I'm going to go with a 7.
Yeah. I think I'm probably right there with you. I think the movie was quite well put together. I really enjoyed the characters, and the acting was spot on for me. I didn't notice like about people saying with the accents and whatnot, because I haven't been around a lot of African accents and whatnot, so I'm not too sure how accurate they were, but they were convincing enough for me, so to speak. But yeah, I think the character relationships were really what kind of done it for me in this movie, specifically the relationship between Nawi and Agojie. And even the relationship between Nawi and Niska and the rest of her team as well, and obviously Niska and the king as well, because that was another important relationship we didn't touch on too much. That obviously the king had a lot of respect for Niska, because I think they said like during one of the earlier raids or attacks or something, she was fighting to protect him, where like obviously one of his wives was like cowering in the closet or something. So that was another important relationship. And obviously at the end of the movie, the king Gezu makes Niska the woman king as well, which just goes to show like kind of they're really pushing that kind of progressive theme throughout the film. So it was really good to see that journey. So yeah, I think for that I'll be right there with you with a 7. I didn't fall asleep in the film. I didn't find it hard to watch. I was kind of watching it a little bit in the background as well. I was playing some Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, I thought it was a good watch. Getting those cards in, brother. No, but I thought it was a really good watch. So yeah, pretty. I would recommend it to people. But yeah, just know you're in for a long haul. That's all.
I'll go next. What can I say? The movie, it started off. There was obviously the fight. I could say the fights were very well choreographed. I can't say these words. The actor selection was great. Obviously, Viola Davis is a brilliant actor. John Boyega, a brilliant actor. Lashana, she always slays in her roles. But for me, the story, it didn't hold me. Aside from the fighting scenes, I was bored. There are scenes that I just fully don't remember at all. So for me, it just gave me a weird aftertaste. I would have to give it a 4. Just yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, it is a 7 for me. I'm not, but that's it. That is a 7 for me. Well, just to clarify. So we've got 7, and 4. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say I appreciate this movie. Like, I like that it's what it's trying to accomplish, basically. Shining a light on this, the culture and this sort of tribe that were so, unheard of, and again, until now, many people weren't aware that there was obviously an elite force of royal guard made of women, which is, again, at this time and point in Africa, is just something that would just nobody would really have known, and obviously this is what inspired, as you know, the Dora Milaje. So the Dahomey actually were a direct inspiration for the Dora Milaje, which are basically Black Panthers guards as well, guardswomen.
Right.
And it obviously just goes to show how influential they are in history, and the fact that this movie was made. I think this was kind of a long time coming. Now, obviously, with the movie itself, again, I do agree with Law. It is a bit too long. It does outstay its welcome. I don't really see why they decided to go with an after credit scene. I was just kind of indulgent. And thank you for the indirect shots, Ruben. Yes, I did fall asleep twice, even watching this movie. But as I said, I still kind of managed to grasp, the story and whatnot. And yeah, I love the performances. Again, it's not really a lot to say that Viola Davis was good in it. She's pretty much good in everything. Same with John Boyega. He's gone from strength to strength with each movie he does, and he's like definitely become like one actor that I really admire, and like I look forward to every movie he does now. Yeah, as I said before, the whole aesthetic of this film was gorgeous, beautiful, and obviously being African myself, I really appreciate it for that reason. It really did kind of like remind me of being back home, as they say. But yeah, just to sort of cut to the point, I feel like this movie could have been a little bit more streamlined, and just kind of getting to the point, not super overindulgent. I did like the relationships with the characters, but as you were saying, Law, bit of like contrived storytelling. You could tell it was obviously in there just to make this movie feel a bit more human, I guess, a bit more like dramatized. But yeah, overall I would give it a 7, which is well prepared and presented, pretty much good. Would I watch it again?
For a third time.
First time, yeah. I mean, my wife loves this movie. That's the reason why I watched it again twice. So maybe, I don't know, if she's watching it, I might sit around and check it out again, because I do love the performances. But would I watch it on my own accord? No, definitely wouldn't. But yeah, that's it. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I can't remember like what our scores were for Black Panther, but I think some of our scores, mine is definitely higher than what I gave Black Panther. What was any of your scores higher than what you gave Black Panther?
I gave Black Panther a 6, so this is 1.
6.
All of
6.
these, yeah. 8.4 Cam. Cam was the only one who scored this lower than Black Panther.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Everyone else was higher.
Yeah. I just feel like it's one of those movies that after watching it, I will think about elements of it afterwards, and I think that's another reason why I gave it higher as well, because even though Black Panther was, parts of it were fun to watch on screen, I feel like this movie was overall more impactful than Black Panther, more to take away, so to speak. So yeah,
I can positively say that none of this movie will remain in my memory for very long.
Wow.
Oh, cool. Sweet. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that is it. Yeah, that was our discussion. Very interesting, wasn't it? I'm sure you found some things that made you feel a certain way, certain type of way. If you don't agree with any of our opinions, or if you do agree with our opinions, feel free to comment down below in the comment section. Let us know how you feel. Did you enjoy this discussion? Would you like to see more? And what type of movies actually would you like to see us talk about? If there's any suggestions you have, then you know what to do. Again, leave them down in the comments section below. So until next time, again, thanks for sitting down and watching this video. We hope to see you next time, and until then, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.